Greetings, true champions of the cause. Welcome to Starplanet's Beyond the Canon, a showcase of literary fan works from across the multiverse based on your favorite intellectual properties. In today's episode, we will be featuring Chapter 3 of the Siberian Experiment, an incredible fan work based on 20th Century Fox's Alien vs. Predator franchise. When a meteor crashes in the remote Siberian wilderness, military personnel find more than they bargained for. The Siberian Experiment was published on the 26th of December, 2022. Somewhere in the heavens, they are waiting. Now, dear travelers, let's begin. Chloe Pierce stepped through the front door with plastic bags biting into her fingers, the quiet of the house broken by the sharp click of the answering machine. The sound froze her mid-step. Groceries rustled as she set them down on the kitchen counter, dinner plans forgotten. She crossed the room and pressed the button. Yes, it was outdated. Yes, people laughed at it. It still did its job, and she had never found the heart to replace it. "Hey Chloe, it's me. Pick up if you're there," the voice said. Adrian, her husband, by law at least. By feeling, the definition had grown blurred and fragile. Her finger hovered over delete. Listening felt like pressing on a bruise she pretended wasn't there. Still, something made her leave the message playing. "Okay, listen. I'm going to be out of range for a little bit. You know how it is. I won't be able to take Mackenzie in the meantime." The words landed softly and still managed to hurt. A familiar ache settled behind her ribs. He sounded steadier than he had in months, less frayed at the edges. That brought comfort and sadness in equal measure. She cared, no matter how tangled things had become. Over time, she had pieced together the truth, CIA, or close enough to it. Long absences, careful phrasing, silence where explanations should live. He never confirmed it outright. He never denied it either. "Just wanted to let you know. Tell Mackenzie I'm sorry and that I love her." A pause followed. Static hummed faintly. "I love you too." Click. Chloe stared at the machine, chest tight, the kitchen feeling colder than before. The goodbye carried weight, heavier than a casual sign-off. A sense of finality clung to it, sharp and unwelcome. She wished she had arrived 60 seconds earlier, wished she had heard the phone ring and chosen to answer. Oil rig off the Kamchatka Peninsula. Adrian lowered the satellite phone and stood facing the helicopter. The Mi-17 squatted on the deck like a relic dragged out of storage, chipped paint revealing layers of Soviet gray beneath. Its rotors were still, its shape heavy and inelegant. He trusted it about as far as he could throw it. As far as he was concerned, the aircraft belonged behind velvet ropes with a plaque, not tasked with hauling them across hostile airspace. Nothing about the operation sat right. The submarine had been ordered to surface at an oddly precise location, a quiet patch of ocean chosen with obsessive care. From there, a raft ride to a Russian oil rig followed, waves slapping the sides as a lone worker waved them in. The man spoke broken English, offered no names, no details, only a gesture toward the helicopter and a command to wait. "Anyone else feel like we're about to kick off World War III? Hornet muttered, tugging at his bootlaces. His grin tried to sell humor. His eyes didn't. Adrian shared the feeling. Every instinct he had honed over years of operations screamed that something was wrong. Strangely, the rumored visitors from space worried him less than the human variables piling up around them. A low chorus of grunts followed. No one liked the setup. The satellite phone buzzed in Adrian's hand. He didn't check the caller ID. There was only one person reckless enough to ring at a time like this. He let it vibrate a few beats longer than necessary, a small act of defiance, then answered. "Go for Pierce. Adrian, Bob here. I take it you've arrived. Adrian didn't soften his tone. Yeah, and I'm regretting saying yes to this. If we get spotted, does this turn into an international incident? Bob didn't pause. If you're caught, you'll be labeled an extremist cell, impersonating military personnel. The government will deny any link. You'll be on your own. The words landed hard. That clause had never come up. What the hell, Bob? Relax. Russia's busy with evacuations. Eyes are elsewhere. Bob sounded bored, like someone explaining traffic to a stranger. Zero risk on his end. Adrian exhaled slowly. He should have pressed for more details earlier. He had trusted Bob's assurances, and now that trust felt thin. The man's lack of field experience was showing, and Adrian knew he'd be the one cleaning up the mess. You got a map? Bob asked. Adrian pulled folded paper from his jacket and checked the compass. Yeah, I know. I've got family to think about, Scarecrow said, shoving the magazine he'd been inspecting back into a pouch on his vest. The motion was sharp, almost angry. I know, Adrian said again, the words heavy with repetition. Hornet crossed his arms, jaw tight. No family here, and I still don't plan on rotting in a Russian prison. Bob's lost his mind. I know, Adrian replied, voice steady despite the pressure tightening in his chest. Listen, I'm stuck with the same risks you are. We run the operation, clean and careful. No heroics, no stupid moves. This smells like a dead end anyway, and I'm not trading our futures for it. We extract the target. If she fights us or puts our cover at risk. He paused. We act. If she truly was Spetsnaz, she would recognize the calculus. She would make the same call. Silence followed. The wind rattled loose metal on the rig. Cold man, Hornet muttered at last. Adrian didn't flinch. No one here is worth our lives getting erased. That settled it. Heads dipped in reluctant agreement. None of them liked it. None of them saw another option. Adrian gestured at the helicopter. Move out. I stuck around St. Petersburg. When I saw it was a time for a change. Killed the Tsar and his ministers. Anastasia screamed in vain. The tinny audio crackled through Adrian's battered iPod as the helicopter cut across the frozen expanse. Cheap device, scratched screen, barely holding a charge. Perfect. He allowed himself a thin smile. Chloe loved old tech. She treated it like something with feelings. It still wants to matter, she'd once said. Why throw things away the moment something shinier shows up? Soft heart. Always had been. The flight itself was uneventful, even dull. The team disagreed. Wide eyes pressed to the windows, taking in endless white broken by jagged ridges. Men raised on heat and dust found wonder in the snow. Adrian saw nothing special. It reminded him of home, Minnesota in winter. Same cold bite, same gray calm. They were crossing higher ground when the satellite phone buzzed again. Adrian frowned. Bob had nothing left to say. He answered anyway. Pierce. Captain Pierce, a pleasure. The voice carried age and a thick Russian accent, strained by rotor noise. Definitely not Bob. Adrian straightened. Who is this? And how did you get this number? That detail has no value. You are retrieving Jekaterina, yes? Adrian leaned forward until the harness stopped him. How do you know that? A faint chuckle filtered through the static. I know many things, Captain. Then tell me why you're calling. I wish to hear the voice of the man chosen for this task. A former Marine. You survived contact with one of those visitors. Your history speaks loudly. Adrian's skin prickled. That file was buried deep. Classified layers thick enough to crush careers. Hearing it recited like trivia chilled him more than the air outside. So this was Bob's contact. For once, the man hadn't exaggerated. "I'll accept the compliment," Adrian said, careful with every syllable. "Tell me, Captain," the voice continued, "what does Semper Fidelis mean to you? Always faithful, always loyal. And are you faithful to this assignment?" The words sharpened. "Will you remove Jekaterina, even against her will?" Adrian closed his eyes for a heartbeat. He pictured a woman he hadn't met, a pawn trapped between flags and agendas. "I'll do what must be done." That answer carried no pride, only necessity. "Thank you for speaking with me, Captain." The call ended. Adrian stared at the dark screen, then pressed the phone against his forehead, exhaling slowly. He'd seen strange corners of the planet. He'd dealt with monsters that didn't belong anywhere humans walked. Russia still took the prize. "Hey, Pierce, how come you never made Major?" Hornet asked out of nowhere, voice pitched loud enough to cut through the thrum of the rotors. Adrian took a moment before answering. "Majors in this line of work tend to die young." Hornet caught it immediately, flashing a grin and a thumbs up. The truth sat just beneath the humor. Adrian had never wanted the slow suffocation of a desk, or the quiet knife fights of rank politics. Major was where fieldwork gave way to meetings and favors. He preferred dirt under his boots. He leaned back in his seat and let his eyes slide shut. "I need fire support. Danger close. Grid Kilo 259. Adrian shouted into the radio. Afghanistan burned around him. The mission had collapsed into chaos, gunfire snapping from the tree line. "Copy, Captain." "Batteries standing by," came the reply. "Level the forest," Adrian barked. "It's in the trees." The response was immediate. Thunder rolled across the valley as shells tore into the foliage. The ground shook. Heat washed over him. His teeth rattled as sound crushed everything into a single roaring note. Trees vanished in fire and debris, the hillside reduced to smoke and flame. "Confirm splash?" the voice asked. Adrian stared at the burning ruin, chest heaving. Nothing alive could have come out of that. "Captain?" "Nothing alive." "Captain, wake up." Viper's hand shook his shoulder. "Pilot says we're almost down." Adrian blinked, the past snapping away. He scrubbed his face, irritation flaring at himself for drifting off, unease lingering from the memory that refused to fade. The helicopter's ramp dropped, cold air rushing in. The team spilled out fast, weapons up, spacing clean and practiced. The aircraft lifted moments later, its noise shrinking into the distance. Adrian scanned the area. He wasn't sure what he'd expected. Gunfire, something unnatural crawling out of the snow, alarms screaming into the sky. None of it came, just wind, distant trees, and the soft crunch of boots on frozen ground. "Oof, it's freezing," Viper said, shoulders hunching. "California blood. There won't be much left to prove we're men by the time this is over, Captain," Hornet joked, laughing at his own line. Nevada hadn't prepared him for this either. "Lucky for you, the bar was already low," Adrian shot back. He tapped his Garmin Fortrex 701, tagging the drop zone as their extraction point. Same place in, same place out. Clean and simple, at least on paper. Viji lay west-southwest. The walk would be long. Before committing, Adrian's gaze settled on a tall structure perched on a jagged hill nearby. A tower. Communications, maybe. Height meant visibility, and visibility meant fewer surprises. "How do we track her once we hit town?" Scarecrow asked. "We're soldiers, not trackers," Viper replied. "That means doors, questions, patience." "Get me her underwear and I'll sniff her out," Hornet bragged. Viper turned on him. "What is wrong with you?" Adrian raised a hand, cutting it off. Jokes had their place. Too many dulled focus. We head for the tower first. 50 meters between us, no one out of sight. Eyes on your left and right at all times. He doubted anything out here could truly threaten them. Still, he trusted caution more than confidence. He was trying to learn from scars, his own and those left behind by others. Patterns emerged if you paid attention. The hunters favored separation. One body at a time. Pull the thread, let the rest unravel. That tactic had nearly ended him once. Guatemala proved it could end anyone. The difference now was thin but meaningful. He knew such creatures were real, not campfire stories or classified footnotes. Snow-covered ground offered little cover compared to choking jungle growth. Fewer places to vanish, fewer shadows to exploit. He intended to keep trees at a distance whenever terrain allowed. Expecting trouble? Scarecrow asked. Heads lifted, weapons shifted. Eyes swept the horizon with sharper intent. Caution keeps people breathing, Adrian replied, already moving. The answer lacked detail on purpose. The team followed, spacing tightening as awareness crept in. Good. Tension sharpened instincts. "Captain," Viper said over the radio, voice lowered. "Talk. How do we deal with them?" The hesitation gave him away. Adrian chose his words with care. "We haven't met this parasite strain before. Nobody here has. We studied the files. That puts us ahead of most. And the hunters?" Silence stretched. "Boss," Hornet pressed. "We'd like something to work with." Adrian exhaled. "Stay close. They isolate targets. Groups complicate that." It wasn't a perfect answer. It was the only honest one. The climb to the tower drained more energy than expected. The slope cut steeply upward, loose stone sliding beneath boots. It spared them ropes and anchors, though his lungs still burned. Cold air sliced inward with every breath, sharp and punishing. Sweat gathered anyway, trickling beneath layers meant to trap heat. "I really need more cardio," Adrian muttered, breath ragged. "Legs win wars," Hornet chirped. "Skip leg day and die mad." Adrian wiped his face against his sleeve and focused on breathing slow, steady, controlled. At the summit, hydration packs hissed as everyone drank deeply. Adrian marked the tower on his GPS, locking it in his mental map. "Scarecrow, you're with me. We go up and watch. Hornet, Viper, hold this position." Scarecrow craned his neck, eyes tracing the skeletal height of the structure. "You sure about that climb, sir?" Adrian glanced at him. "Spit it out." Hornet answered first. "You looked rough getting up here." Adrian snorted. "Orders stand." He climbed, metal cold beneath gloved hands. Halfway up, his shoulders protested. Knees complained louder. He kept the grumbling internal. No reason to feed future jokes. At the top, Scarecrow shifted his rifle with careful precision, threading limbs through beams until the scope settled. Adrian rotated his wrists and shoulders, easing stiffness before it set in. "Report," Adrian said. "Mixed ground," Scarecrow replied. "Some routes look cleaner than others. None of it's friendly." Adrian sighed. "Figures." Scarecrow tilted his head skyward. "Drones overhead." Adrian blinked. "That wasn't mentioned." Scarecrow looked over, puzzled. "Nobody told you?" "No." An MQ-1 Predator brought clear advantages. High-altitude eyes, silent reach, weapons it would never be cleared to fire. Adrian's concern lay elsewhere. Russian radar, scrambled interceptors, shackles and denials. Bob had launched the thing without a word, and that single choice irritated Adrian more than the cold ever could. Scarecrow shifted beside him. "Relax. The drone's profile barely registers. If anyone notices it, odds are they'll blame debris from the meteor." Adrian gave a humorless breath. comforting. Scarecrow tapped away at a rugged tablet, pulling the feed through. The screen flickered, then steadied. Snowfields, broken hills, thin roads cutting through white like scars. Adrian watched in silence, already planning the climb down. "Boss," Scarecrow said. "Yeah. You seeing how close that thing is?" Scarecrow zoomed the image. "That meteor's not matching the news." Adrian's jaw tightened. And with that, true champions of the cause. Let's take a break. We will be back after these messages. You are watching Starplanet Beyond the Canon.
Out here, the stars don't sleep. They hum to the rhythm of engines and echoes, and warriors who don't back down. Every fight's a verse. Every hero's got bars written in battle scars. And the night's our stage. We rise when the world powers down. We drop heat when the signal fades. No capes, no crowns, just grit, code, and courage. From the city streets to galaxies unknown, we chase what's real, 'cause legends ain't born, they're broadcast. This is the block where the dreamers run wild. Starplanet, dark side, still running the night, still built different.
Would you look at that?
The new beef superior is here, only at Starry's. Wherever you are in the universe, there's always one place that feels like home. Starry's, eat in, eat out, but always eat the best.
Welcome back. Let's continue. Area surrounding the town of Viji. I am not leaving. The old man planted himself in the doorway, arms rigid at his sides. I was born here. I will die here. Nothing falling from the sky scares me out of my own home. Katya kept her face calm. She had learned that irritation only fed resistance. You are under evacuation orders. 15 minutes. Take essentials. Oh? His chin lifted. And if I refuse, girl? She let a thin smile show. Then you travel without belongings. My lieutenant enjoys carrying stubborn men. The homeowner's eyes slid past her to Petrov, whose expression remained carved from stone. The challenge drained out of the man's posture. He lingered a moment longer, pride fighting reason, then turned sharply. Fine. 15 minutes, he snapped, slamming the door. Katya exhaled through her nose and turned to Petrov. Guard the entrance. No extensions. This sector is spread thin and daylight won't last. Yes, ma'am. She stepped away, heading back toward the convoy. Petrov called out. "Ma'am?" She stopped. "Yes, Lieutenant." He hesitated, then spoke. "You handle them well. Firm, calm, gets results." Her eyebrow lifted. "Trying to flatter me, Maxim?" Color crept across his face. Regret followed instantly. "I only meant you didn't have to be out here with us." She waved it off. "I'm teasing. Thank you. It means something." "Yes, ma'am." Katya walked on, thoughts heavy. Compliments didn't speed evacuations. This marked their second day, and resistance remained constant. She had explained timelines, safety, science. She had pleaded. She had listened. Most still dug in their heels. "You can't uproot us," one woman had shouted earlier, as if people were trees rooted to frozen soil. A rock skidded under Katya's boot as voices drifted from nearby. "I heard the United States and the UN offered support," one soldier said. "Support how?" another asked. "From which groups?" Katya slowed, listening. "Food, medicine, the usual," the soldier replied. One was the Global Relief Foundation, another some church-backed group, and the Charles Weyland Foundation. The name hit Katya hard, sharp and immediate, like a blow to the ribs. Weyland. Her jaw tightened, pulse jumping, old resentment flaring hot and fast. She forced it down, burying it beneath discipline and duty, and stayed quiet. "Do you think the president will allow foreign help?" the second voice asked. "I cannot say, comrade." Katya absorbed that in silence. She had known the meteor had everyone watching, but she hadn't realized how far the concern stretched. Western donors, private money, that was new. At least she didn't have to correct anyone for loose talk about Moscow this time, unlike earlier with Petrov. "Hello, Captain," Alexei said as she approached, eyes glued to his tablet. "Private," Katya replied evenly. "The residence is in progress. Mark it accordingly. What is our next address?" No response. His finger continued tapping the screen in a lazy rhythm, attention clearly elsewhere. "Private Antonov." Still nothing. "Antonov." He finally looked up, irritation plain on his face. The audacity almost made her laugh. Almost. "Am I interrupting something, Private?" she asked, tone sharpened just enough to cut. He shrugged, scratching his head, missing the warning entirely. That settled it. "Forgive me, Alexei," she said sweetly, false politeness dripping from every syllable. "I had no intention of disturbing you." "Oh, it's fine," he said, waving her off. In one smooth motion, Katya plucked the tablet from his hands and tossed it behind her shoulder. The casing would survive. Her patience would not. "What are you?" Alexei yelped. "And I certainly wouldn't want to interfere with your next assignment," she continued calmly. "My next?" He stepped sideways, trying to reach the tablet, but she blocked him without breaking stride. "You are going to run 100 laps around the convoy." 100? His eyes widened as he stared at the line of military trucks stretching out ahead. The distance alone was daunting for someone who clearly avoided physical exertion. "But we move in 15 minutes. Katya checked an imaginary watch. 12 now. Time moves quickly. Best get started. She retrieved the tablet and held it just out of reach. "I'm sure you'd hate to walk to the next site. We're heading higher into the mountains." Alexei looked around desperately. The soldiers lounging in the trucks grinned openly, enjoying every second. Petrov stood off to the side, unreadable, which likely frightened Alexei more than anything Katya could say. "Yes, Captain," he muttered, starting to shrug off his pack. "Oh no," Katya said, patting his shoulder. "That stays on." She might have made him carry his rifle too, if she hadn't already taken it away for everyone's safety. "Good initiative," she added lightly. "Run." Alexei shuffled off. curls bouncing, posture slumped. He looked so utterly defeated that Katya nearly laughed. She swallowed it, clearing her throat, and turned her attention to the tablet. The screen had gone dark. She pressed the power button, just to be sure it still worked. The screen flickered to life, revealing a login prompt beneath a symbol she recognized only faintly. The name beneath it, though, struck with clarity. Roscosmos, the Russian space program. Katya stared at it, a quiet chill settling into her spine. Her eyes lifted toward Alexei, his figure shrinking as he jogged farther down the line of trucks. A scientist? They had sent a space scientist with her. That alone raised questions. Questions she did not like. The meteor suddenly felt less simple than command had suggested. The cursor blinked, patient and unhelpful. She had no access credentials. Guessing would be pointless. Someone higher up had locked this device tightly. Alexei might not even know the code himself. She pressed her tongue against her teeth and weighed her options. She could confront him directly, demand answers, apply pressure until he cracked. He lacked the spine to resist for long. That path promised clarity. It carried danger. Whoever placed him here held influence. Military command, or something that could bend command without effort. Either possibility carried teeth. One wrong move could bring consequences down on her unit. Petrov crossed her mind next. Trusted. Grounded. His judgment had never failed her. Bringing him into this meant sharing the risk. That choice could not be undone. Katya slid the tablet into her pack, intent on returning it later. Her hand brushed something wrapped in silver foil. A white chocolate bar crushed at one end. She snorted softly. Her mother despised white chocolate. "Why not?" she murmured, tearing it open. She sat on the frozen ground, boots planted, chewing the cheap sweetness as her gaze drifted skyward. The meteor burned like a stubborn ember against the pale daylight. Too bright, too visible. Basic schooling told her that much. Something that size should not show itself so clearly before nightfall. Larger than reported, perhaps. Closer, certainly. What did Alexei know? How much time remained? Hours later, they reached the final address marked for the day. Relief passed through Katya as the occupants complied without argument. A young couple answered the door, supper already laid out behind them. Once informed, they moved with urgency, gathering supplies and tending to their infant with practiced efficiency. "Please, hold him," the mother pleaded, placing the baby into Katya's arms before hurrying inside. Katya froze for half a breath, then adjusted her grip. She took a seat on a narrow wooden bench beside a withered flower bed. The task stirred memories she preferred buried. Alexander's name echoed faintly in her thoughts. Petrov managed the couple. Trusting anyone else felt unwise. The baby remained calm at first. Minutes passed. Then his face tightened. His lip quivered. Pink gums showed. "No, no," Katya whispered, rocking him gently. She sensed the moment tipping. Her hand unclipped the carabiner from her belt. She shook it, keys and lanyard chiming softly. "See that?" The sound worked. His eyes widened. The crying paused. She shook it again, louder this time. "Captain." Petrov nudged her boot. She looked up. "They're ready." Katya reattached the carabiner and rose. "Good. Let's—" The blast cut her off. A thunderous shockwave slammed the air, paired with a blinding flash that tore through the dim evening. Her instincts screamed incoming. She lunged forward, curling over the baby, bracing her weight on her elbows to shield him. The ground felt unforgiving beneath her. Petrov crashed down over her an instant later, arms locked around her head. She grunted, fighting to keep their combined weight off the child. Shouts erupted. Bodies hit the ground. Weapons cleared holsters. The baby's mother screamed. Seconds stretched thin. Katya shoved upward. Off. Petrov rolled away. Katya rose into a crouch, hand tight on her sidearm. Nothing burned. Nothing smoked. No impact points. No debris. No signs of an attack. Her team lay scattered in protective stances, eyes searching. Whatever had just happened, it wasn't artillery. She lifted the baby with care, rising to her feet as the child's cries cut through the haze of dust and ringing ears. "Sound off," Katya barked. Her squad answered one by one, voices strained, shaken, alive. Petrov moved in close, pistol raised, eyes scanning the wreckage. What happened? I don't know. She spotted the parents nearby, dazed and struggling to stand. Crossing to them, Katya steadied the woman first, then the man, guiding them upright with firm hands. "Here," she said, lowering her voice, placing the baby back into his mother's arms. "Take him." She hoped the weight of the child would anchor them, give them something solid to hold on to while panic threatened to take root. The woman clutched the infant, tears streaking through dust on her face. "What's going on?" "We don't know yet," Katya said. "We will." She nodded toward the transport vehicles. "Get inside one of the trucks. The armor will keep you safe." Once they were moving, Katya turned back to her unit. Formation restored, weapons checked, breathing steadied. Orders flowed again. A scouting detail prepared to fan out and sweep the area, eyes on tree lines and broken ground. Her thoughts circled the obvious answer. Ultra-nationalist rebels. They were rumored to be hiding nearby. They had motive. They had weapons. Still, the explanation felt thin, like a story missing key pages. Then she saw it. The impact site lay bare. No glowing debris. No fractured stone. No scorched crater. Nothing. The meteor was gone. Katya's breath caught. "Belay that order," she said quietly, locking eyes with Alexei. That wasn't a weapon going off. Something else had taken place here, and whatever it was, it hadn't come to destroy. It had come to leave. And with that, true champions of the cause. This chapter has come to an end. I thank you for spending this time with us, and I look forward to seeing you again. Please let your thoughts be known in the comments. I truly look forward to reading them. So, until next time, please like, comment, and subscribe. I have been your host, Arius. See you in the shadows, my love.